Serbisyong care yan, tatak care yan.
Ngayong umaga po ay sa ating serbisyong karyan ay makakapanayaman na naman po natin ang darating na ho nating nakasama. Hindi na ho siya guest or bisita. Siya po ay regular na natin nakakasama. Ay salamat sa Diyos dahil meron tayong nakasamang isang Batikanong abogado na nagbibigay sa atin ng mga libreng impormasyon. At kung meron ho kayo mga katanungan, feel free to text us. Libre po ang pagtatanong ngayon. Pero pagkatapos nito, may bayad na ho ang tanong sa abogado.
At related po sa ating topic na pag-uusapan.
Ang tanong, yes. Ang pag-usapan ho natin ngayon ay how to properly set up a business in the Philippines. Uy, maganda yan. Magnegosyo na lamang kita.
Yan ang pinag-uusapan.
Magnegosyo na sana kita.
Kasi nga na ang daming unemployed.
Daming unemployed sa Bicolandia. Mga kapatid, ang ating pong resource person ngayon ay ang dati na natin nakakasama, Attorney Francesco Britannico, ang head lawyer or founder ng FCB Law Office. Good morning, Attorney.
Good morning, Sir Rico, Sir Ronnie. Magandang umaga ulit sa inyo at sa lahat ng nakikinig at nanonood. Good to see you po.
Good to see you too, Attorney. Kumusta? Kumusta estás?
Okay naman, nagsimula na yung ulan. Kamusta po kayo?
Oo, ganun din ho dito, Attorney. Nagsimula ng ulan at kamakailan lamang, Attorney, nagkaroon ng lindol dito sa amin sa Bicol. 5.5 or 5.8?
5.1.
Medyo malakas din.
Malakas nga po. Mukhang all over sa atin nagkakalindol.
Kumusta naman ho dyan sa Metro Manila? Ang agam-agam dahil sa Big One.
Yes, at yung gas pa rin po ay mahal. Well, yung nag-a-adjust po lahat sa public transport.
At siyempre, Attorney, yung pinangangambahan din natin dyan na posible yung malaking lindol, yung the big one dyan sa Metro Manila.
Yes. Sana po hindi mangyari sa kung saan man.
Oho. Attorney, ang i-discuss natin ngayon ay tungkol sa business guide, how to properly set up a business in the Philippines.
Yes, sir.
Oo.
Well, kung gagawa po tayo ng business, magsisimula ng business, isa sigurong unang isipin na anong klaseng business ang gagawin.
Oho.
And that would require siguro different needs. Kasi kung, for example, kung itinerant food retail, like yung mga naglalako po sa atin na nag-iikot, pwede nilang gawin yan on the local level. Sa barangay, kukuha sila ng permit. Tapos kukuha sila ng permit sa mayor. At that might suffice for a lot of situations. Pero kung mas local based po na may lugar talaga, well, in that case, iisipin po natin dapat yun magre-register. Paano po niya i-register? At may iba pong office na pagre-register ito.
Attorney, sa usapin ng batas, ano po yung mga steps, ano ba yung mga kinakailangan i-consider? Legal na hakbang sa mga magtatayo ng negosyo sa usapin ng batas.
Yes, sir. So, kung gagawa po ng business, isang kailangan isipin ay mag-register sa DTI. Para ma-register nila sa pangalan nila, gagawa sila for example ng isang tindahan or kung anumang klaseng business dito. Pero pwede rin nilang i-consider, instead of registering under their name, pwede silang mag-form po ng korporasyon. May mga advantages po ito. At pinadali na rin po yung proseso. So pwede sila mag-register, gagawa sila ng corporation, tapos doon sa korporasyon nila ilalagay yung nakapangalan yung business na ito. Ang advantage nito is that if you create a corporation at the SEC, kung magkaroon ng utang yung business, magkaroon siya ng liabilities, ang mananagot po ay yung corporation mismo, hindi po yung tao na nag-set up ng corporation. So yun yung difference niya between tinatawag nating sole proprietorship na talagang nakapangalan sa isang tao or a corporate business or corporation na nakapangalan sa korporasyon.
So yun ang malinaw na pagkakaiba, Attorney. Kung korporasyon siya, halimbawa nalugi, ang hahabulin yung korporasyon.
In general, yes po. So kung gumawa po sila ng korporasyon sa SEC, tapos may mga utang, nalugi nga po, tapos kailangan na niyang ibitawan yung kanyang ni rent na lugar. And then, mangyayari dito ay yung utang ay hindi utang ng human person, kundi ng corporation itself. Dahil meron siyang personality sa batas natin. So, ayun po ang advantage nito. Of course, may regulatory requirement siya in that you need to maintain yung mga papeles ng korporasyon. Kailangan po ninyo mag-file ng mga regular reporting sa SEC, pero it's very doable. And if ang intention po is isang business talaga na gusto niyo tumagal, very often magta-transition yun sa corporation, even though you can start, of course, sa sole proprietorship.
Paano, attorney, kung partnership lang yung kanilang pinili?
Pwede rin po. Yung partnership, ang advantage niya, of course, is like the corporation. You can pool yung resources ninyo with other stakeholders, with other people who are going to invest. Ang disadvantage ng partnership is that in terms of liability, para siyang sole proprietorship na yung tao mismo rin ang hahabulin for yung mga utang ng business. So there's an advantage in that mas direct po siya in the sense na hindi mo kailangan ng as much regular documentation as a corporation, pero meron pa rin po siyang the same features as a sole proprietorship.
Sa pagninegosyo ba, attorney, meron bang limit sa capital para masabi mong dapat korporasyon na ito?
Hindi naman po. Actually, yung corporation itself can be very small. You can make it with i-report nyo sa SEC na yung kapital ng korporasyon is 5,000 pesos at tatanggapin po ito. Sapat na po ito para gumawa ng korporasyon. Yung in terms naman po, of course, kung magre-register kayo sa DTI, sa local government, kung sole proprietorship, mas mura siya in a sense, pero in terms of yung minimum ng korporasyon, 5,000 pesos is enough. Pero meron siyang annual reporting requirements. Kasi yung process po ng pag-setup nyo, whether it's sole proprietorship or corporation, of course, kailangan mo i-register properly sa different government offices sa simula.
Yun ang tedious part ng pag ginawa mong korporasyon kasi while magandang pakinggan, pagdating sa dulo, marami ang paperworks kasi may mga reports at the end of the year.
Meron po. Well, in the sense po na lahat naman po ng business, meron pong annual, for example, na every year when you start the business, you need to get the permits. So kailangan po natin ng barangay clearance, kailangan natin ng mag-file sa DTI or sa SEC. And then every year kailangan natin sa simula and every year after ng mayor's permit doon po sa municipality or sa city. So every year po kailangan natin mag-file ng mayor's permit, pero on top of that, yung SEC meron siyang kailangan na i-file din every year. Magre-report ka na you're still existing and operating. Yung tinatawag nating general information sheet. Tapos lahat po sila ay dapat po magbabayad po ng buwis sa ating BIR.
So pwede ba, attorney, na lumaki ang negosyo na DTI lang pero hindi naging korporasyon, pero lumaki siya naging multimillion?
Oh yes po. Pwede na, of course, because very often ganun po yan. Magagawa tayo ng, for example, ng karinderya na magiging restaurant, na mas gagawa sila ng ibang branches. Pwede po talagang maging sole proprietorship po siya. Naka-DTI registration, tapos tinutuloy na lang po yung operations at lumalaki. Of course, habang tumatagal ang panahon, you also have to consider ano po mangyayari doon sa business kapag bibitawan na po ito or ibebenta. So, kaya pag tumatagal, it's possible na the owners might decide na gagawa na talaga sila ng korporasyon, but pwede po talaga nilang gawin na tuloy-tuloy na DTI po yung registration all the way.
So, it's a choice kung gusto mong gawing korporasyon, but hindi ka naman lalabag sa batas. If forever lang siya, kahit lumaki ng lumaki, maging multi-million ang capital, it's not parang bawal. Hindi yan against the law na hindi i-register as a corporation. Hindi
po bawal. Of course, there is the advantage that we discussed earlier na as time goes by, yung mga obligasyon ng kumpanya ng business na ito baka lumalaki and baka gusto mong ma-insulate yung personal mo na pag-aari-arian doon sa kung ano man mangyari sa business. So that's why people can choose to gagawa silang corporation ultimately para ma-transfer po yung business mula doon sa sole proprietorship into the company.
Mhm. So, meron tayo, attorney, naisip ko lang, meron tayong tinatawag na, I do not know if I'm correct, itong Doni Corporation. May narinig akong ganyan. What is that, attorney?
Dummy na corporation.
Doni.
Doni.
Oo.
Well, I'm not sure about the context. There are different kinds of corporations though. Meron yung mga corporations which are built for business na ang intention nila talaga is to generate a profit dahil nagpapatakbo sila ng yun nga ng business. Pero meron din po tayong mga non-stock or foundations na non-profit sila. Ang kanilang purpose is not to generate profit but actually to operate things like, for example, schools or charities. So they are similar in that they are also registered at the SEC at meron silang corporate personality in terms of limitation of liability at pwede silang mangontrata, pwede silang mag-rent ng space, pwede silang mag-operate, pero hindi sila meant to be income generating. So of course, hindi sila liable for income taxes dahil ang kanilang primary purpose is charity and community works. So perhaps yun po yung distinction. It's still a corporation. It's not designed to generate income or profit.
Pero hindi sila automatic na mag-declare ka lang na yung corporation ko is non-profit ito. Kaya meron mga requirements at ang gobyerno ang nagde-declare, ang nag-approve whether or not sila ay pwedeng maging non-profit. Is that correct?
Yes. Because po kung sa ating batas, kung mag-file po kayo for creating a corporation, you file your articles of incorporation with the SEC. Nakalagay doon kung anong purposes ng business natin or ng ating company. And the company is only allowed to engage in activities which are related to that. So if you say that you are a non-profit, then you say there's articles ninyo, non-profit kayo, and therefore you can only engage in the acts like na nakalist doon, which is, for example, to make a school, maybe to run a library, perform works of charity, do volunteer work and organize that. But you are not allowed to buy and sell for making a return on your investment or make a profit. So yun po yung kanyang distinction. Dahil wala po sa purposes ninyo, if you engage in activities which are outside of the purpose, you can be regulated by the SEC and told not to do that.
Pero pwede kang magtanggap ng mga donations galing sa mga companies at yung donations na yon pwedeng magsilbing tawag dito kabawasan sa tax ng company na nag-donate.
Well, yung donation itself would be subject to a donor's tax which the company that donates would be responsible for. In terms of yung responsibility ng non-profit or ng foundation, hindi naman po sila subject to the income taxes because it's not considered income. It's a donation talaga. So it's not subject to accounting of profit. They're obliged to record it in their books, but they are not. This is not the kind of income that is subject to income tax. It's subject to a donor's tax that the donor is responsible for.
Pero meron mga naririnig ako, attorney. I want to be clarified of this. May mga non-profit organization na pag nag-donate ka doon at binigyan ka ng resibo, that receipt will serve as parang bawas na doon sa tax mo?
Doon sa pwede po siyang i-apply doon sa taxes ng donor under certain circumstances. So magbabayad pa rin ng donor's tax yung donor at saka pero yung amount na binigay niya doon sa foundation or doon sa non-profit can be offset under certain circumstances. It can be offset from their income, from their tax liability. So it's a valid way to reduce taxes because you actually gave out the money to a foundation that's accredited to to a corporate, to a non-profit that's accredited, and therefore pwede po siyang i-report doon sa kanilang accounting sa BIR na babawasan yung kanilang income tax in a way.
So lahat ba ng non-profit organization ay ano tawag dito? Entitled sa mga ganong tawag dito? Pag-receive ng mga donations na magiging mababawas doon sa tax na nag-donate?
Well, there's an accreditation process po doon sa with the BIR, and it does involve making your own books open to the BIR para makikita nila po what's going in and out. And so once that's accredited, there's an accreditation process in particular for foundations that will make them yung taxes na the donations that they receive, if this is an accredited foundation, it can be deducted from
The tax.
the taxes. So they have to be accredited pa rin po.
So hindi automatic na porket non-profit organization kayo ay pwede na kayong gumano. So that should be accredited muna.
Well, of course, the non-profit or the foundation can receive po donations. They can. It's just that whether the benefit of reducing the taxes of the donor will apply, it depends on whether yung pinagbigyan po nila is accredited or not. Pero no matter what, pwede mo naman po makapag-receive ng donations yung recipient.
Yes.
It's
Pero-
just that the advantage for the donor
Yeah.
might be the distinction on whether or not they're accredited.
Pero siyempre, advantage ito sa kung ako naman na attorney ang donor, mas magaan mag-donate doon sa mga institution na yung aking dinonate can be accredited, can be parang deducted sa aking tax sa tax
Yes,
ko.
sir. That's definitely so. So that can really be a consideration. Of course, different organizations might donate regardless, but that's definitely a consideration kung para sa mga donors. So in terms of non-profits, that can be one reason why yung accreditation po with the appropriate offices can be sought for.
Okay. Attorney, punta naman po tayo doon sa tinatawag na labor laws. Ano po? Ano pang obligasyon ng isang employer sa ilalim ng labor laws natin dito sa Pilipinas?
Yes, so kung babalik tayo dun sa business na ginawa, after they apply sa DTI or sa SEC, nakuha nila yung mayor's permit nila, yung nag-register din sila sa BIR, kailangan din po nila mag-register doon sa ating mga SSS, Pag-ibig, PhilHealth, para sa mga employees nila. Kailangan nila ng employer number para kung mag-hire sila ng employee, ay meron po silang ipagpapasukan na ipagre-reportahan na sila po ay nagbibigay doon sa kanilang statutory benefits na tinatawag natin, Pag-ibig, PhilHealth, SSS. So, kailangan meron silang employer number sa mga offices na ito at kailangan po yung kanilang accounting, ipagsweldo nila ay tama yung buwis within the minimum wage, and also tama po yung kanilang mga riniremit or binibigay doon sa government offices as part of their SSS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig obligations.
Halimbawa po mayroong labor violations. Ano po ang dapat gawin ng isang empleyado?
Yung empleyado, kung may labor violations yung company or yung business, dyan po tayo pupunta sa liability considerations. Kung medyo lumaki na po yung business, tapos yung may isang empleyado may problema, magpa-file po siya pupunta siya sa DOLE or sa NLRC natin, na yung ating mga labor offices, magpa-file po siya ng complaint, tapos papatawagin po yung company. And that's also, dyan po papapasok kung nag-file po ba ng corporation or DTI registration lamang yung company. Kasi kung mayroong labor obligations, ang mananagot niyan ay yung company. Pero kung DTI lang po, sole proprietorship, meaning
Yung may-ari.
pwede pong habulin yung person mismo, yung tao po mismo na owner. So that can be why kung meron po silang, kung demandahin sila, whether in court or sa DOLE or sa NLRC, that can be an advantage talaga na may corporation kasi at least ma-insulate nila yung kanilang business from their personal funds.
So ibig sabihin ang kakasuhan yung mga tao
May-ari.
ay yung may-ari.
Mhm.
Hindi. Kung sa corporations.
Corporation mismo.
O kaya nga ibig
Attorney?
sabihin yung mga tao individual na kakasuhan yon or
O, yung corporation mismo.
Yung buong corporation.
Yung corporation po kasi is treated as a person under our law. It has its own juridical existence. Kumbaga, meron po tayong pananaw sa batas natin na person po, distinct person yung corporation that can enter into contracts, that can be made liable. A person po siya distinct from the human persons who might operate it.
Mhm.
So, ang liable po is yung corporation kung mayroong corporation unless certain conditions are met. Pero in general, there is a partition between the human beings and the corporation.
Pero pag sinabi mong corporation kasi, it will be represented by tao din. Sino doon sa loob ng corporation ang mananagot? The owner, the president, the chairman?
Well, the owners own shares of the corporation. They don't necessarily own the corporation itself. The corporation is its own person.
Mhm.
So kung may assets po yung corporation, yun po yung mananagot. Yung may bank account ng corporation, yung assets ng corporation. Pero yung yung assets ng mga individuals who are running it, the officers and the shareholders,
Hindi kasama.
they are only answerable for the amount. Kunyari po, nagpasok po sila ng 100,000 pesos dun sa corporation, tapos may overtime, nag-generate po ng assets yung corporation, meron na siyang sasakyan, meron siyang restaurant, meron siyang mas malaking bank account, yun po yung mga mananagot for the complained assets, for the claims nandun sa DOLE. Pero, of course, it also means that kung hindi sumusunod yung corporation sa mga requirements, pwede siyang sabihin na hindi ka na pwede mag-operate, and then mag-shutdown po yung operations nila if the corporation does not comply with court orders or with other orders from different offices.
So yun ang maganda sa corporation, attorney? Kasi hindi direkta sa tao yung complaint kumbaga man kung sakali.
Yes po, ang advantage po niya is that kung ano yung hinahawakan ng corporation in concept, except under certain exceptions, yun lang po yung liable because meron siyang sarili niyang assets and accounts and things like that. Yun po yung hawak niya. Kasi po, parang, for example, isipin natin, merong chain of restaurants na pag-aari ng korporasyon, and although may pamilya na sila nagpapatakbo nito, over time, hiniwalay na po nila yung kanilang accounts from the restaurants and sa kanilang personal na hindi nakakabulin yung kanilang ipapang tuition nila sa anak nila or things like that. Instead, kung anong hawak ng corporation, yun na po yung mananagot if ever.
Mhm.
Halimbawa pa, attorney, na ang kanilang ginawang business ay online business. Ano po ang mga proseso din? Parehas din po ba sa physical businesses or itong mga sa online ang proseso?
Well, it depends on the kind of online business. It will fall under certain additional regulations. For example, kung for one, typically if it's an online business where you're going to sell on a platform, sa ngayon po, yung mga Shopee, mga Lazada natin, kailangan mo pong mag-register sa Shopee, Lazada, papakita po ninyo yung inyong DTI at yung mga registration papers ninyo para so that they will allow you to sell on their platform. Tapos if there's a certain kind of business pa po na that might be, for example, involved siya dun sa online lending or things like that. These ones naman po get regulated by the central bank. Lalo na yung mga online gambling. I'm less familiar with the regulations for that, but those are highly regulated now by the financial institutions natin.
But there are still a lot of online businesses that are not regulated. Kaya daming
Mahirap
naluloko.
po silang i-track, of course. Lalo na po yung effectively, they are like itinerant or ambulatory vendors. Some of it naman po kasi, it grows from selling sa Facebook Marketplace, for example. Do you call that an online business or only at a certain point? Kasi sometimes people will just post something there na personal nilang pag-aari, ibebenta nila. Pero after over a while, nag-scale po yung operations nila. And then, nagiging logical for them to spend, if they're spending more time on it, then they probably should organize better yung kanilang paperwork. Pero, kanya-kanya rin pong effectively yung compliance nila. In the same way na yung itinerant vendors natin can start out as talagang walang paperwork. Nagbebenta lang po sila, and then over time, they might find na riniregulate sila ng local government, ng barangay or ng city hall, and they have to comply also.
Attorney, punta tayo sa mga sari-sari store. Kasi yun ang mga ano natin, mga maliliit natin mga kababayan. They're starting sari-sari store.
Yes,
Yan ba ay kailangan talaga nila
Comply ng permits.
mag-ask ng permit talaga bago sila makapagsimula ng sari-sari store?
Well, on the national level, yung napag-usapan natin yung mga registration sa DTI, sa SEC, hindi naman po. Because in general, when people start something like that, ang mas kaharap po nila yung barangay. Kung ano po yung regulations ng barangay, ano po yung regulations ng City Hall. So, it goes to yung ordinances po ng city at ng barangay. It's my understanding, for example, sa Bicol, and if there is if there's food that's being prepared, may mga health permit po silang pinapa-comply with. Kung ang ginagawa nila is nagiging karinderya po sila, may mga local health permit silang pinapa-regulate on. Pero ultimately, they would be required also to report sa BIR, not necessarily na magbabayad sila ng taxes, but just the fact na may pinapatakbo po sila na operation. Pero in terms of the regulation sa ganun pong types of business, mas relevant, at especially sa simula, yung mga local ordinances sa barangay at sa City Hall. So that would be locally based, and that would be, yun siguro yung check nila. Kung gagawa kayo ng business na gano'n, i-check siguro doon sa marketplace. Sino po ba yung ano po yung office doon? So magtanong doon kung ano yung requirements, and then mag-guide sila on the local ordinances.
Ayun. So,
Ito po bang mga maliliit nating mga negosyo, halimbawa itong mga canteens natin, sila din po ba ay required na magbigay sa BIR?
Well, in terms po naman of income, for one, meron naman po tayong cut-off na wala pong income tax kung below 250,000 yung annual income. So, kung sabihin lang po nila sa BIR, hindi naman po umaabot sa ganun yung annual na nag-generate ng business, hindi rin po sila i-charge for income tax. Pero ultimately, they would be told that they must file. Hindi po sila required magbayad ng income tax necessarily, but they are told that they must file a report every year.
Kasi ang BIR naman mismo magsasabi na you're not yet paying kasi hindi pa naman kayo umaabot sa requirement.
Yes po. But they will be told that they still have to report their income even though hindi sila covered ng income taxes.
But it doesn't mean na hindi sila dapat magpa-register sa city permit or municipal permit, di ba, attorney?
Yes po. Because especially dahil sa local level, of course, mas kaya mag-enforce nito ay yung barangay and the city employing even the police for clearance operations. You can imagine na baka i-clear out sila ng local law enforcement kung wala silang mapakitang sufficient permits.
So, kung sa barangay level, dapat may barangay permit.
Yes po. Typically, kahit nga po yung napag-usapan natin earlier, yung mga ambulatory or itinerant na vendors, yung barangay of residence nila, dun sila muna mag-apply, and then mag-inquire sila about what requirements are doon sa City Hall para may mapapakita po sila kung sila itatanungin. Of course, people can start without that, but it's highly encouraged that they should think about that para hindi sila magkaroon ng problema.
Doon, attorney, siguro mga ulit tanong natin to. Doon, attorney, sa mga halimbawa, biglang na bankrupt yung aking negosyo. Pwede bang silently mag-off na lang ako? O kailangan kong ipaalam sa DOLE, kailangan ko ipaalam sa SSS na hindi na ako makapaghulog sa aking mga empleyado dahil bankrupt na kami?
Sa closure po of business, that's its own thing. Hindi po siya pwedeng just silently to close it, especially if you have employees of record. For example, meron tayong mga separation pay for a closing business that they have to they have to pay to their employees depending on the length of employment. And there's also procedural requirements that they need to notify their employees at least 30 days before closure. So all of that will have to be calculated, and they have to file with the different offices with whom they are
Okay.
registered. So mas mahaba actually yung process of closure even. Pero it's better to comply, otherwise hindi natin po pwedeng i-ghost na lang yung government offices and the employees, because in that case magiging liable talaga, magdedemandahin siya, and then if it is used as a way of shielding a criminal offense,
Correct,
the
oo.
corporate personality can be discounted by the government, and then gagawing liable yung officers and the owners if ginagamit siya para maging paglabag ng batas. It depends on the circumstances, pero if it is used to shield from criminal action or criminal liability, pwede po pa rin habulin yung directors ng company or yung officers nila.
So hindi pala pwede na bigla-bigla ka na lang mawawala, attorney. Kailangan mag-file ka doon sa mga offices where you are registered.
Yes po, kasi of course yung statutory benefits natin, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig, SSS, hindi naman po pwedeng biglang matapos na lang yan without explanation. And then also yung sa DOLE, like I said, there's 30 days notice before closure, before you let people go. For example, you're going to announce na magko-close na po yung business nyo, you still need to give people time na 30 days before you actually close. And you still need to maintain the operation. And then even after closure, medyo mahaba po yung process of closing up sa DTI, sa SEC if need be, sa mayor's permits and things like that. May mga accounting that you need to do with the BIR.
Nako,
So
hirap.
there's a tail of work, even though the operations itself wala na, may paperwork pa rin kung kina-close up.
At kailangan pa rin magbigay ng separation fee sa mga empleyado.
Yes sir, depending po on the length of service. If you're going to close because of bankruptcy, you're typically due to pay them at least half a month's salary for every year of service. So, ano po?
Bakit po pala, attorney, kapag nag-resign ng isang empleyado ay hindi siya nakakatanggap ng incentives or ng
Separation
fee?
Sa batas po natin, ng separation pay is an entitlement if there is what's called authorized causes. So kung just cause, meaning that the employee was fired for violations or endangering people in the workplace, hindi po siya entitled to separation pay. But if it's authorized causes like reduction of the workforce or closure of a branch of the business or bankruptcy, you can let employees go, but you're still liable for the separation pay because the law says so na for authorized causes there's a separation pay. Pero if the separation of the employee is due to resignation, hindi po siya nakalista doon sa sinasabi ng batas na kailangan ng separation pay. And that's the primary reason. Authorized causes may requirement for separation pay, but the others are not.
Attorney, required ba sa lahat ng mga tawag dito employment ng mga tawag dito companies na may plan sila sa retirement benefits ng mga empleyado nila?
Not naman exactly. That can be, especially ngayon po, it's primarily a matter of in terms of the employment in the first place. Pero hindi po siya required. That's in part, that's what the statutory benefits are meant to help address. That's why entitled sila dun sa yung mga binibigay natin
Yung
dun sa
SSS.
statutory benefits. Yes po.
So if you want to have a requirement of retirement benefit, bahala ka na doon. Personal mo yon.
Well, or kasama po siya dun sa terms of employment. Kung may nakalista po talaga na ito yung entitlement nila after certain years of service, that doon sa kanilang employment engagement, that can be part of it.
Oo, kasi sa government po, baga attorney, may retirement benefits talaga mga empleyado.
Yes po. Well, in a way that most prominently po siguro kung merong employer-employee agreement, particularly between unions and employees, tas meron silang tinatawag natin collective bargaining agreement na nakalagay doon, especially na merong retirement benefits after certain years of service at a certain age when they cease service. Kung yung union po at yung employer, but that's really
Magkasundo.
only possible when the businesses are of a certain scale already. But if the union negotiates with the employer a certain collective bargaining agreement na meron pong retirement lump sum or any other kind of thing, that very well might be. So for our older established corporations, for example, you really would see that na merong ganong klase na when the employee reaches a certain age, let's say 65 or perhaps a different age, after certain years of service, meron siyang option to cash out.
Pero hindi yan automatic sa mga private institution.
Hindi po, especially because a lot of our businesses are not of that scale. They are like 5 employees, 10 employees. Hindi po,
Nalulugi
hindi po
naman
siya
sila.
exactly the sort of thing that can sustain or would be expected to provide that.
So that's the purpose of a social security system.
Yes, and that's also the purpose of the unions. That's also what the unions do. They negotiate this especially with the larger
Large scale.
businesses. Yes po.
Yeah, that's very clear, Attorney. Attorney, maraming salamat po. Umabot na sa oras para tayo magpaaram. Last message po sa ating mga viewers at mga listeners.
Well, thank you again po, and I hope this was helpful for people who either are employees or employers, and for people who are contemplating become opening businesses, dahil po ay siguro nakakatulong po ang mas maraming business sa Pilipinas kaysa sa mas maraming abogado.
Attorney, sa totoo lang, your time with us is always very helpful. Marami kami natututunan at ang taong bayan na nakikinig ay marami silang mga napupulot na mga dapat nilang matutunan sa batas.
Salamat po ulit, Sir Rico, Sir Ronnie, at mag-ingat po kayo lahat.
God bless you, attorney.
Pagpalain ka ng Diyos, Attorney. Maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat din.
Ayan, meron naman tayong mga natutunan ngayon, mga kapatid. Sa pagsisimula ng negosyo, kung interesado kayo magsimula ng negosyo, hindi pala ganun kadali yun. Marami kayong consider karon eh.
Maraming dapat isalalang, lalong-lalo na yung mga permits.
Oo, marami kang dapat isalang-alang.
Para naman hindi ka magkaroon ng problema.
Ayun, dahil sumunod sa batas. Mga kapatid, yun po ang ating nakapanayam ngayon. Ang lagi na nating nakasama, ang very able, always available na Batikanong abogado, Attorney Francesco C. Britannico, ang head lawyer, founder of FCB Law Office doon sa Metro Manila. Maraming salamat po. Ay, umabot na naman sa panahon na sa oras upang kami ay magpaalam sa loob ng isang oras at kalahati. Maraming salamat sa inyo pag-subaybay. Lagi nating paalala habang may oras pa.
Tanggapin natin si Jesus bilang Panginoon at tagapagligtas ng ating buhay.
Kasama natin ngayon sa technical side si Don Ramon Diaz. Kayo po ang iyong mga kaalmosalan ngunyan na pagkaaga. Hindi nagbabagot, laging nandyan. El Solamente, Rico Jalit.
At ako naman po, nagsusulong guwapito, Ronnie Rensales.
Susunod na po ang negosyo as in trabaho kasama ang ating station manager, Yvette Pao. Salamat!
Bye-bye, God bless.